Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. I'm firmly of the belief that if someone commits a crime and then they do their sentence, they come out, and assuming that they're not going to be recidivists, they're not going to go back in and carry on committing crime, they've learnt their lesson, if you will, then they deserve the chance to make good with their life. They deserve that second chance. They've paid their price, they paid the price of their crime. Let us move on. And in many cases, this is what happens. Oftentimes, a lot of people who go to prison do so only once because they've been unfortunate. Sometimes a victim of circumstance. Sometimes for a moment's weakness or stupidity. Of course, that doesn't mean that there aren't serial criminals. But if they are, then they need to go to prison for increasing lengths of time. In fact, I firmly believe the American system of 3 strikes and you're out should apply, and that life means life. But for some people, there should never be a release. There should never be forgiveness, and they should never be allowed back into society. Because in this particular case, we're talking about a man who's not just been convicted once, not even twice, but he has been convicted at least 3 times for the same crime. I speak, of course, of Gary Glitter, real name Paul Gadd, and a man who is and will always remain an absolute danger to children. And we have to ask why, in their infinite wisdom, did the parole board allow this dangerous man to go free? He committed some of the most heinous crimes, and yet here he is, about to be released this week to rejoin the society, which I do hope shuns him. Let's look at this article. So, disgraced P. Gary Glitter will be released from prison within days, and shamed pop star 78 will have to wear a tag and tell police if he's planning any foreign trips. Why is he being allowed to have a passport? The shamed pop star, whose real name is Paul Gadd, was jailed for the various S crimes. Glitter will have to wear a tag when he is released, it was reported. And they should just remove his passport. There's no way then he can run off back to the likes of Cambodia, where he was prosecuted, I believe, and where he then went to Vietnam, where he was also, again, prosecuted, I believe, for the same thing, involving very young girls, because he is an absolute monster. The shamed pop star, whose real name is Paul Gadd, was jailed for 16 years in 2015 for crimes against a girl under 13. But under Britain's stupid laws, he's eligible for parole after half the sentence, so 8 years. Not long enough. It should be life for someone like this. This isn't someone that will ever be anything other than what he is. He will never change. His proclivities are hard-grained into him. He's an old man who needs to spend the remainder of his life in his cell. Glitter is set to be released within days, but will have to 3 days to register his name with his local police station. Well, we need to find out where that is. We'll need to find out where he's living and let all the locals know that there is a monster in their midst and to watch their children. He must tell police 7 days in advance of any foreign travel, and officers can veto any trip if they fear a risk of further offences taking place, which there will be because he cannot help himself. The predator will also have to wear a tag and tell police if he enters into a relationship with someone who has a child under 18. I don't think any mother would ever have a relationship with him. Who's making the decision to release this man? The Ministry of Justice told the paper that freed offenders are monitored by the police and probation service and may be jailed again if they breach very strict conditions. And it follows reports that Glitter's 17-year-old daughter works a grueling 12-hour shift in a poultry factory in Vietnam. Her mother is 11 years older than the daughter, and that goes to tell you exactly what kind of man he is and why we have to ask, is he not still in a cell? Truck Lee's mother, Tran Tim Kin Yona, and I do hope I pronounced that right, it's a very difficult name, said he should take responsibility and help her, but I don't think he ever will. No, he won't. And I'm not going to go too far into it because I don't want to give this man any kind of publicity, except to say that, to quote his old song from the early 70s, do you want to be in my gang? No thanks, Gary. No, I want you to be in prison. Anyway, I shall finish there and come up. For some people, parole works. I can see why parole exists, and I can see why it will work. When you are a prisoner and you know that if you behave well, if you keep your nose clean, do as you're told, don't make ripples in the water, you will be rewarded with an early release, and you can get back to your family, your life, your job possibly. For others, it will never work. Now, I have a personal friend who went through the prison system. He wasn't a hardened criminal. He a victim of misfortune, should we say? But in prison, he learnt a trade. He became actually a tattooist and ended up a very responsible businessman with employees and that. And he was well liked by everybody. He had a sort of difficult youth. It culminated in a short prison sentence, but it ultimately made him. The system for him worked. And it does work for quite a few. And of course, as I've mentioned, there are the recidivists. There are the career criminals for whom prison is just an occupational hazard. But for some people, their desire, their proclivities, their innate inner nature means that no punishment can ever change them. No reward will train them out of their way of being. The desires, these base, monstrous desires that these people have, will not be tempered by prison. Glitter coming out is no less a danger than glitter going in. And the authorities need to recognise this. And there needs to be a change of policy with regards to these kind of crimes, where the parole system needs to be much, much harder, and the release isn't the halfway point that most prisoners will come to expect, but maybe for very minor ones, for first-time offenders, where it's been minor, 75% has to be served before there's any possibility of parole. But certainly for someone who's on his third conviction, there can be no parole whatsoever. And life should mean life. And that way, children will be protected. You're not putting monsters back on the street. Because it isn't just glitter. There's many of them. He just happens to be the most high profile. Anyway, I shall stop there because it's a very disturbing subject. But I do hope that the people where glitter decides to eventually end up living do decide to shun him. I won't ask for his any harm to come to him, because that would be wrong. But he can certainly be shunned, banned from shops, banned from pubs. His life can be made an absolute misery, quite legally, and with nobody risking prosecution for themselves for doing anything to him. Anyway, thank you very much for listening. I hope you enjoy the videos. If you do, please hit that subscribe button down below. Ring that bell for notification of future output. Leave a like, leave a comment. Please share the video. And until next time, stay safe, stay well. Make your kids stay away from Gary Glitter and don't listen to his records, which is a shame because they were actually quite good. And goodbye.